back to lecturing. Not in like a real sense. To me now, like when I started out the year doing that with geometry, I was bored. Like I was boring myself by lecturing. I couldn't imagine how some of my students felt. So I just can't do it. It's different when you just have a handful of kids that you're doing that same kind of instruction to than when you're doing it to a whole group of 25 or 30 kids. It's just different. It feels different because you really actually can check in with every kid while you're doing that instruction. Whereas when you're doing lecture for a whole class, you can't. You try your best to check for understanding, but you only get through maybe about a third to maybe half the class, really, in a meaningful way. But with students now that select, and then they do select well to do the videos in my geometry class, they become much more independent learners, and I want them to be. I don't want them to feel like I have to hold their hand in order for them to be successful. So it builds responsibility, it builds autonomy, and I actually get to help the kids that need the most attention from me. So I could never go back to lecturing.
I couldn't go back to lecturing. And I'm a big relationship person. Like I enjoy my kids, I enjoy talking to my kids. In 14 years, I've made a point to talk to every single kid every day that they walk into my room. And the last 2 years, I've realized that for some of those kids, the only thing I did was say hello to them when they walked in and goodbye to them when they walked out. And so, like Michael says, I have conversations with every single kid in my room every day. And, most of the conversations revolve around math. But the nice thing is that about half of them revolve around the kid. I have one gal who has a lead foot. She knows I teach driver's ed sometimes. And so we've had multiple conversations about her speeding tickets. And, and I have one rule in my classroom, and that's be a nice person. And so it's interesting because in my 6 block class, we have to come back to that rule because they've now gotten so comfortable with each other because of the forced collaboration. And they bought into it. Half of these kids would be sitting in the back of the room not paying attention if I wouldn't have gone this route. And so because they've bought in, now they're talking about math half the time, and to me that's a win. So yeah, direct lecture, 85 minutes, I would never do it.
So mine is the same as far as large group instruction, because I look back and look at the large group instruction that I had done in the past, and I've never been a huge large group, but the 15 to 20 minutes is about tops for 4th graders, and even the younger grades, 15 is probably pushing it sometimes for a whole group. But just the difference, if I stand back and pay it, like as I'm doing the whole group now, they can stay focused for that 15 minutes because I think they know the rotations where they're going to get their individual is coming. Because I do that first, and then they know that there are going to be videos, or they know there's going to be more individualized attention if they still don't understand something, but they're still staying with me. And the other aspect is if when I would do more of the whole group for, let's say, 30 minutes, after that first 15 to 20, you start to see, this and, some of this. But if you stood in my classroom now, there's more of they are on task doing what they need to do to learn what they need to learn. And for my little guy that is in kindergarten, it's not the same thing as the other guy who's multiplying 4 digits times 3 digits. So he's getting what he needs, kind of like Amanda said earlier. The high achieving students are being able to push themselves higher, but the ones that still need more experiences, they're able to get those experiences at the same time. So the large group setting is I wouldn't go back to that.
Well, I think it to bring technology back into it, we now live in an era where information is very easily attainable. The lecture was invented because printing was too expensive. The only book in the classroom was the book that the lecturer had, the professor had. We left those times centuries ago. The printing press changed that, but then the classroom didn't change with it. We had books in everybody's hand, but we were still lecturing. It's very interesting. And now our students can learn anything, anytime they want. any knowledge, like basic knowledge comprehension, they can find whatever they want with the internet, you know? So why are we lecturing? Okay, that's not, we should be guiding them in how to find information and how to think about that information. We shouldn't just be telling them what it is, because something else, because this can tell them that information. This is their lecture. We don't need to be lecturing.